G'day, my name is Mark Fennell and welcome to the MindMatters Spotlight on Technology. Now, when you talk about young people and technology, there are certain words that always come up. It's sexting, it's cyberbullying, there's porn, there's video game addiction. But is there more to it than that? Well, to debate today, we have Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg from the Young and Well Cooperative Research Centre. We have Professor Debra Rickwood from the University of Canberra, Julia Nordlinger from Ringwood Secondary College, and Sarah Faithfull, who is a member of the Youth Brains Trust and also from the Young and Well CRC. Welcome to you all. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. There you go. I need a studio audience for this. All right, so Michael, you've heard the list: sexting, cyberbullying. Fair to assume anything involving young people and technology, instantly evil, yes?
There's no question the media demonise technology, and for me it's just a long line of moral panics. In the 1890s there was a moral panic around the rather disgusting habit of young people reading novels, and that was going to corrupt their moral. We've had jazz music, Elvis, TV, video games. This is just a continuation.
Michael, what's your pitch to schools in terms of getting them on board with using technology?
You know, there really are a lot of very good studies which show young people aren't coping. We need to prepare them for life. And this is where I think technology has such fantastic potential.
Right, all right. So Debra, are there specific areas in which you can use technology to help with mental health, and young people in particular?
There's probably three key ways that we can use technology for young people, and the first one being access to information. Obviously through technology we've got access to the entire universe of information that we have at the moment. The second way is to build skills, so to use technology to increase young people's resilience, help them develop habits, monitor their behaviour, so build their own skills. And the third way, which is really important, is to encourage connection, communication, connection. They can develop a sense of belonging, connect with like-minded young people, get into communities that support their well-being. So those are probably the three main ways that we can use technology.
I just wanted to add to that, I agree. And in schools, you know, while we're struggling with the technology and we're having to now spend a lot of energy and resources on teaching our students how to protect themselves, what cyberbullying is, how to make sure you're not involved in that, what to do if you are. We're equally using technology in a way that's so useful to the students, and particularly around their well-being.
Michael?
Yeah, young people's problems don't occur between 9 and 5, which is when my office is open.
Yeah, I agree. I think the out-of-school hours is when young people need support, and so all the school staff and the teachers need a couple of websites, addresses to be able to promote.
All right, Sarah, I want to bring you in here because you are the person in the room who is the closest to high school age. Now, you had a personal experience with an eating disorder when you were younger. Is there a way in which technology at that point would have helped you?
Absolutely, and it did. I used in particular an app to help me manage my eating disorder, but I've also used technology for all aspects of my mental health. So when I was a teenager in high school, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about my mental health. Online counselling was really beneficial to me. It meant that I could speak to a counsellor from the privacy of my bedroom, you know, in the middle of the night on my laptop. No one had to know, no one had to drive me there. I didn't have to explain what I was doing or where I'd been. So it really allowed me to get help when I wanted, where I wanted and how I wanted.
Are there really great examples you've seen of schools using technology in really effective ways?
Yeah, there are a lot of apps that help teenagers track their mood, build their resilience, a lot of mindfulness apps. The other way we're using technology is on our school website. We now have a wellbeing website.
Oh, okay. What sort of stuff would you put on that?
A lot of mental health promotion, a lot of links to apps, a lot of just fact sheets around mental health issues, and then some relaxation exercises, a lot of resources for parents around parenting, how to recognise signs in your teenager.
Are there specific apps that you think would be useful for a teacher to know about?
Look, I think Smiling Mind for meditation would be brilliant. Couch to 5K for exercise, sensational. And one of my favourite websites is Mood Gym, which is a fantastic online resource for mild to moderate depression and anxiety, developed by the ANU. It's about 20 years old. It's had about 7 randomised controlled trials. It's really got a great evidence base.
I think that what teachers can do is be aware of reputable websites and apps, have a look at them themselves, make sure they're comfortable with them. They can promote them in their class, they can mention them to students they might be feeling concerned about. I think if they have any suspicions, they see any signs of the students not travelling very well, wellbeing-wise or health-wise, or they get a sniff that they might be using technology inappropriately, maybe through another student, I think they should not hesitate to consult the school psychologist, the school social worker, and potentially the student's parents.
There's a fantastic website called Beacon, which is run in fact by the ANU, and it has a list of all the different apps and web-based programs, and they're listed by evidence base, and I think that's very, very useful.
Michael, are there things that schools can do better to engage students in this sort of area?
I think one of the big areas is sleep deprivation.
Really? Okay, why is that?
And we know that young people require about 9 hours of sleep a night, yet the research suggests they're getting about 5.5. So that's a very considerable gap. So to try and do things like use technology to help young people track their sleep, to teach them what I call beducation through fact sheets and through the wonderful websites.
You should get that trademark, I should.
Yeah, that's good.
But I think that's a really key point. I mean, ideally, I'd love all schools to start school at 10 o'clock and finish it at 4, but that's not going to happen.
A lot of school students would join you in that campaign. I
Yeah.
really think they would.
I'm sure it's a cheap vote, trust me.
It'd be good for staff. Yeah.
See, everyone wins. It's fine. What about relationships? Because I'm thinking back to school and, you know, the biggest heartaches and the biggest frustrations emerged out of dynamics between friends and partners. Is there an element where technology can play a role there?
Yeah, look, psychology tells us that one of the greatest predictors of wellbeing for young people, in fact for all people, is having a rich repertoire of friends. So there are apps now, relationship apps like Beyond Blue's check-in app, which I think is sensational. Tells you how to approach a friend you're worried about, where, when, what to say, and most importantly, what to say if they said, I'm fine. So that's brilliant. And I think there is another app called Break-up, shake-up, which helps you when you're ending a relationship, which happens to all of us at one time or another. So these things are practical, great apps, which you don't have to be a psychologist to recommend, just be a human being.
If there was one practical thing you could say to school staff members and teachers right now, one practical thing, an app, a website, something you could give them, what would it be right now?
I think the most practical and useful and cost-effective thing a teacher can do is have a poster in their classroom that lists 5 great mental health promotion wellbeing apps that their students can go to.
Yeah, right. Michael, anyone that you want to pick from there?
Well, the websites, I think it'd be really important for them also to know about eHeadspace, so that's online counselling, 1800 55 1800, which is the Kids Helpline phone number. I think those 2 resources, personally, should be plastered all over primary and secondary schools right across Australia.
Final practical tip for you, Debra.
I'd suggest they go online and look up some of the websites. We have some fantastic websites in Australia, and the one that I'd look at the moment is what's been put out by Reach Out. They've pulled together a whole lot of evidence-based approaches and apps to guide young people through them. It's called the Toolkit. And I mean, it's for young people, but if a teacher or parent goes on and has a look at that, they can see what are the things that are of interest to young people and what's been brought together as the evidence-based types of online approaches for them, and have a bit of a taste of what they are.
And the final thought goes to you, Sarah.
Yes. I think it's really important for teachers to understand that technology, in particular mobile phones, isn't really seen as a separate entity for young people anymore. It's more seen as an extension of themselves. You know, we hear a lot about kids these days spending too much time on the internet and not enough time in the real world. But who says the online world isn't real? You know, it might be different, but that doesn't make it any less real. You know, and I think when we're talking about something difficult like mental health, the online world can allow young people to be even more real. All
right, we started the show with an awkward self-applause. We might as well end the show with one. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you so much. And before we say goodbye, we do want to share with you a quote from Bill Gates, who, when he left Microsoft to do philanthropic work, he said, "Technology is just a tool. In terms of getting kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important." That was Bill Gates sucking up to you right now. Very big thank you to everyone here on the panel. And of course, we're now going to leave you with our regularly scheduled cat videos, which is what I believe the internet does when we're not talking. Thanks, guys.